Hey everybody, it's the History Teacher. This episode is part one of a simplified explanation of the amendments to the U.S. Constitution. There are 27 in total, the first 10 of which are referred to as the Bill of Rights. This time we'll be looking at the 1st through the 13th Amendments. So, let's begin. The First Amendment guarantees freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion, and the freedom to assemble, that is, the right to gather in groups. The First Amendment also guarantees the right of people to petition the government for redress of grievances, meaning people have the right to take their concerns to the government in the hope of getting a solution. The Second Amendment guarantees the right to own firearms. The Third Amendment prohibits the government from forcing private homeowners to house soldiers. Prior to the Revolution, colonial Americans had been forced to house and to feed British soldiers who were seen as oppressing them. Now, in their new country, Americans wouldn't permit that. The Fourth Amendment prohibits the government from conducting unreasonable searches and seizure of private property. That is, the government must convince a court that a search warrant is justified before law enforcement can search or seize a person's property. The Fifth Amendment protects the rights of people accused of a crime. For example, it prohibits double jeopardy, that is, being tried for the same crime twice. It also guarantees the right not to incriminate oneself, meaning if an accused person chooses not to speak in her own behalf because doing so could make her seem guilty, then she can't be forced to speak. The Sixth Amendment guarantees the right to a speedy public trial, the right to confront people who are accusing you of crime, and the right to call witnesses to support your case. The Seventh Amendment guarantees a jury trial. The Eighth Amendment prohibits the setting of unreasonable bail and prohibits the government from practicing cruel or unusual punishment. For example, the government can't chop someone's head off for punishment of a crime because that is considered a cruel and unusual procedure. The Ninth Amendment says that people's rights are not limited to what's specifically mentioned in the Constitution, meaning the Constitution doesn't list every single right that people have, just some of them. And just because the Constitution doesn't specifically mention a certain right doesn't mean that people don't have it. The 10th Amendment says that all the powers of government belong to the individual states except the powers specifically given to the federal government, such as the power to make treaties with foreign countries, for example. The 11th Amendment prohibits individuals from suing states. The 12th Amendment provides for members of the Electoral College to cast separate ballots when voting for president and vice president. And if no one gets a majority of the electoral votes, then the House of Representatives will then choose the next president. This amendment resulted from the fiasco of the election of 1800, in which the election for president resulted in a tie. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery in the United States, although, significantly, according to the amendment, slavery is still permitted, quote, for punishment of a crime. So, in that sense, slavery is still legal in America. All right, so there's the 1st through the 13th Amendments. Please see Part 2 for an explanation of the 14th through the 27th Amendments. Meantime, thank you for watching, and see you next time.